This is an ambitious goal, but I believe the things we're announcing today will put us in good shape moving towards that goal.
Breaking news today, Governor Jay Inslee announced a goal to get to 45,000 COVID-19 vaccinations every day in Washington state. In order to move in that direction, Governor Inslee announced effective today, Washington is moving to phase 1B of vaccinations. Effective immediately, anyone 65 years old and above is eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine, and people 50 years old and above who live in multi-generational households will also be eligible for the vaccine. Good evening and thanks so much for joining us for KREM 2 News at 5. I'm Tim Pham. Whitney and Mark are off tonight. Let's get right to that breaking news. The biggest news for our area, Spokane will now be a mass vaccination site. But what does that actually entail? Our Casey Decker is live in the newsroom with the latest. Casey?
Well, Tim, I'm sure it's something a lot of people have been wondering for a while now. Why would I need to go to a pharmacy or a hospital to get vaccinated? Why not just have one big centralized vaccination site? Well, we're about to have several throughout the state.
We are now moving from a limited number of Washingtonians to a rather broad scale where max vaccinations are now possible, called for, and are going to be implemented.
So here's what we know about those sites. One, of course, like you mentioned, we are getting in Spokane. It'll be at the arena. The governor said it'll open sometime next week, and it'll probably be run primarily by the National Guard. Now, in terms of how many shots will be given there, that we don't know yet. We also don't know exactly what the protocols will be for verifying that the people who come to the arena are actually eligible. But we do have new info today on who will be eligible. That was the other big announcement. As of today, we are moving, like you mentioned, Tim, into phase 1B. Now, phase 1A, of course, that was healthcare workers and people in long-term care facilities. This phase, you can see there on your screen, divided up into 4 sub-tiers. Right now, we're just focused on this first tier. That's anyone over the age of 65. Now, that was lowered from what was going to be 70, and that was in order to cover a greater number of vulnerable people. There's one other group of people who are now eligible if you're over 50 and you live in a multi-generational household. Now you can see on the screen here all these other people included in phase 1B, mostly those working or living in congregate settings. They're still not quite eligible yet. But another announcement from the governor today, once we've vaccinated at least half of that first tier, then we can start to move on to the next one. So we won't have to wait for that first group to be 100% covered. Now, another big theme of this announcement, increasing speed and urgency. More than half of the vaccines the state has been allocated, they haven't actually been administered yet. Obviously, that's not ideal. So that speed is increasing at the moment, but to get shots into the arms of people faster, the state is doing a few new things. For one, like you heard earlier, increasing its goal. Second, requiring providers who get vaccines to use them within a week. Third, creating a vaccine command center, and 4, involving private companies trying to find out ways that they can help out here. So certainly some ambitious goals announced today by Governor Inslee. The big takeaways, though, we are advancing in phase, and soon Spokane will see a mass vaccination site at the arena. Tim?
All right, Casey, thanks so much for breaking that down. Meanwhile, Washington State has rolled out a more robust version of an online tool that determines eligibility for the COVID-19 vaccine. The survey now asks questions related to phase 1B. Again, that's mostly dealing with seniors and people in high-risk settings. People can check boxes to indicate if they have cancer, diabetes, a heart condition, or a weakened immune system, or if they are an essential worker like an educator, grocery store employee, or public transit worker. If you are eligible to receive the vaccine, you can enter your name and contact information to receive a confirmation message to show to a vaccine provider to determine eligibility. If you are not eligible, you can still enter your contact information to be alerted when it's your turn. Now, there have been some issues reported with the Phase Finder tool today, so we recommend refreshing your browser and trying again later. If you want more details about Washington's vaccine rollout plan, you can text the word vaccine to 509-448-2000 and we'll send you everything we know. By the numbers now, 129 new COVID-19 cases have been reported today in Spokane County. We have now had more than 31,000 cases since the start of the pandemic. 2 new deaths were reported. Meanwhile, today, households throughout the inland Northwest are still without power. This is a result of last Wednesday's deadly windstorm that tore through Spokane and North Idaho. Today, Avista says 96% of their customers' power has been restored. The remaining customers without power in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene can expect to have their power restored tonight. Some customers in Kellogg may take longer. Avista says they are fully staffed. There are more than 460 people working directly on outage restoration. Most Inland Power, Kootenai Electric, and Vero Water and Power customers' power has already been restored. All right, to weather now. We've had a calm start to the week weather-wise. Today there was plenty of sunshine and temps climbing into the mid to upper 30s. Let's send things over to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in the Outdoor Weather Center. Thomas, will the sunshine continue?
Yeah, I'm really hoping so. In fact, we had a lot of it today, and I think we'll get a decent amount for this upcoming week. But I'm starting to feel the drawbacks of there not being cloud cover, not during the day, but at night. Our temperature went from 35 to 32 just this last hour, and I can see my breath, and it just feels a lot colder as of 5 o'clock than it did just an hour ago when the sun was still up. High pressure dominating our region, but yeah, when the clouds go away, we lose that blanket in the overnight hours, so it will dip down into the 20s quite easily for tonight. Got 32 right now out at the airport. At least the winds are fairly calm out here. But it is going to be a bit of a chilly night. But we have even chillier nights to come, that's for sure, because while our weather pattern is going to be quite stagnant throughout the course of the work week, it gets a lot colder heading into the weekend. And I'm also tracking when we're going to see our next potential of snow. It's not going to happen tonight, not when there's no cloud cover out there, and not for tomorrow. In fact, I think it should be a fairly nice day for Tuesday with our temperatures still in the upper 30s. But I'm going to time out when we can expect our next and really our first batch of snow for this month, all coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Thomas, thank you. Well, today is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Dr. King is one of the most influential voices in the American civil rights movement, with marches taking place all across the United States to honor his life and legacy. Typically, local activists hold a march through downtown Spokane to honor him, but as our Morgan Trout tells us, this year they had to adapt.
The pandemic may have canceled the annual Unity March, but that just means the day of service is more important now than ever. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Everybody can be great because anybody can serve." This MLK Day, activists in the Spokane community are taking that message to heart, both figuratively and literally.
Although our day of observance today looks different, I think this is a wonderful alternative.
4 organizations have teamed up to serve hundreds of free hot meals. Spokane's NAACP president, Keantha Duncan, says after the MLK March was canceled due to the pandemic, she knew she needed to help the community in another way.
And if we can take different approaches, different organizations that might not normally partner together and pool our resources, I would like to believe in my heart that Dr. King would be proud of these kinds of partnerships. That's what I believe.
Spokane Quarantine's Rick Clark has been raising money for the community since the coronavirus hit. He connected with Pool's Pub and raised $3,000 for each of the 2 restaurants. With this money, they will be providing to-go sandwich meals for those struggling financially today.
Just to be a part of this is, an honor. But on this day, a special day where we can really help out and give back.
It's just a joyous moment in such a dark time. And so I know Dr. King would be just super proud of Spokane. And I'm so happy to be and honored to be just a small part of it. I'll spend the rest of my days just trying to include everybody in everything fun that we do because it's for everybody. This isn't just for certain people.
In addition to the 3 groups, the regional Girl Scouts are donating 600 boxes of cookies to give out to people waiting in line for food.
We are doing it. Even if it's one step at a time, if it's one organization at a time, if it's one person at a time, we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and we are going to do it together.
The north and south locations of Pool's Pubs opened at 4 this evening, and they will go until all 360 meals are served. Reporting in Spokane, Morgan Trout, KREM 2 News.
Love what they're doing, Morgan. Thanks so much. We're just getting started here on the news at 5. The governor made a huge announcement today regarding the coronavirus vaccine in Washington, which includes a new mass vaccination site in Spokane. Next, we're one-on-one live with Spokane Mayor Nadine Woodward to get her reaction to the announcement. But before we go to break, we leave you with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.